Well, we may have done the impossible. We may have actually found a hood that fit this supercharger and clears it without cutting a hole in it. Well, I think we may have done the impossible and found a hood that would fit over this blower. Without having to cut a hole in the hood. You can see how much that I've had to mill off the lid there. Milling it turned into sanding it, because every time I would sand a little bit off, I would find a new little spot that would touch. But you can just see the way the C5 body line, that indentation, it literally runs up the center of the car, of course, and clears back here, hit on the fitting, and then of course hit on the front of the blower lid where the manifold is for the intercooler. Still a little dirty in here. This is going to be tricky to see because the light is bad. Let me try it this way. There we go, that's better. So I had to cut a hole in the frame. That hole literally cuts across here and then falls off the back. You can actually see where it was originally rubbing across the back. But that's what it took to get it to clear. I hated cutting on a brand new $1,000 hood, but you got to do what you got to do to make it fit, so that's what we did. There's still a lot of structure in here. I don't think that I'm going to have any structural problems, and the chances of me doing any fourth gear top speed runs are slim to none with this hood anyways, but I am ultimately going to cut out the back of the cowl for ventilation. I'll probably use a 2-inch hole saw, maybe 2.5-inch hole saw, and I want to do 2 slots. So 4 holes across the back, but I want to do a slot here and then a symmetrical slot on the other side. And then obviously the front part of the bulkhead is cut open for where the blower's at, so air's going to be able to get through there. And no, I wouldn't open that up for any kind of a performance advantage other than I just want it to simply let the heat out. This hood uses the factory catches, just like, or the catches, like most aftermarket Corvette hoods do. Factory hinges, factory struts. I don't see any reason to use hood pins on this, even though a lot of aftermarket hood manufacturers tell you to use hood pins. You don't see that every day anymore. I think this hood's very reasonably priced for being made in the United States still. And also, I said this in one of my other videos when I was putting this hood on originally, that this hood is quite a bit lighter than I expected it to be. I don't know what its actual weight is, and I didn't have time to scale it, but I don't know that it's a tremendous amount heavier than the stock hood is, because the stock hood's not exactly light either. I did have to reroute my intercooler hoses. I wasn't ever really terribly happy with the way they were routed anyways, but it used to come up through here and run around the strut, and every time you opened and closed the hood, it was just smashing the hell out of this hose. So I didn't want to have to use the plastic 90s, but I used the plastic 90s, and it actually fits a lot nicer now, and it's easier to use and read the factory GM coolant tee. I also ended up replacing this hose. I found a Gates molded hose to get rid of the plastic connector that I had in the other side. So this is a one-piece hose now coming out of the heat exchanger all the way up to there. Look at that. Some more made in that weird USA place. Some of you might be here to check out the hood. Some of you are here maybe to check out the blower. Some of you might be here to check out both. Sorry if this is long-winded, but kind of trying to get something for everybody. The fit and finish on this hood is for an aftermarket hood. I don't know if I've ever seen one quite this good. I can't find a single pinhole in the gel coat. It's got a little bit of wear and tear from the cardboard box. It was incredibly well packaged. I think they would have had to have ran it over with a forklift to have damaged it while it was in the box. It fit pretty well. I did have to do a little bit of shimming to the hinges to bring the nose up. And then I also got the elevation adjustment maxed out, so those are, just things that you kind of have to do. I did have to shim this fender up just a little bit. I think I got 3 washers in these 3 screws to just bring this portion of the hood up or the fender to meet the hood. But really all it needs is a little bit of sanding on the edges to take these burrs off. Scuff it. I'll do a primer sealer on it, and then we'll do a base coat, base clear setup. I need to get a couple of quart kits, or a quart of base and a quart of clear, and we'll get this guy painted. I'm not going to finish out. I'll finish this out so it's a lot nicer and open those slots, and then do the paint work on it. It's still a little bit fidgety to close. I know some people don't like to drop shut their hoods. I tend to like to drop shut my hoods. Let's see if it'll actually close this time. Make sure everything's out of here. So that's closed and latched. Yep. Obviously the windshield wipers still function completely, which is good. I live in Washington. It rains here. I don't drive this car in the rain very much, but it's nice to have it just in case. I do kind of wish that they would have extended the cowl back just a little bit further for aesthetics, but it's not too bad looking. As many of you have heard me say before, I'm not a huge fan of cowl hoods on Corvettes. I think they look kind of Camaro-tastic. Detracts from the body lines just a little bit, but I kind of signed up for this one. I decided to go the LSA route, that if I was going to put a hood on the car, that you know, that's just what was going to have to be. I did see a picture online on Google Images of a guy that cut his stock hood with the LSA setup, but he didn't have a lot of the stuff that I have that takes up a lot of space. And the intercooler hoses, in my opinion, looked absolutely terrible sticking through the hood. So I think in the end, I'm going to be happy running a full hood, and you know, the car can get wet, you can wash it, you don't need to worry about squirting water all over the place and getting stuff wet. But one last thing before I let you guys go, I'll try and give you a position of the driver's view, because I'm sure some people are going to want to know what that's going to look like. I'm going to say that's probably pretty close to about where my head position would normally be. Turn off the binger. Binger, that's funny. Some of you might get the reference. Anyways, you know, and the reality of it is the height of this hood, which it is a 3.5 inch. They call it an ultra high rise. It really isn't that much taller than the blower itself as far as the view out the windscreen, because this hood is basically just about sitting on the blower. So you got a wider obstruction, if you will, but as far as the height view, it's almost exactly the same as looking over the top of the blower. Before I forget, the pertinence, I'll put it in the description, and also probably the video title. This hood is from JD Corvette in Bellflower, California. I doubt they make them themselves. I'm sure they have a contractor that does it. But anyways, I couldn't be happier. Their communication was pretty good. It was a little bit late. I think it was coming up on 6 weeks to get it. But it was worth it in the end. Hood was, I think, $769 on eBay. I had to pay my lovely state sales tax on it, even though it's pot out of state, but we won't go there. And then it's truck freight, and I want to say the truck freight shipping was about $170. So if you add all that together, it was right around $1,000 to get it to my door. And then I turned around and took a cutoff disc to it. But that's where we're at. I think next time you'll probably see it. Hopefully it'll be painted. So if you have any questions on fitting one of these hoods on your car, it's pretty straightforward. But if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below, and I always try and answer all the comments. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.